Okay, thank you for attending our WebEx today with our Xtender Battery Regeneration System. I hope to give you a little insight of what this machine can do for you in order to both save you money and generate additional income for your company. Currently, all audio is muted. At the end of this brief session, I'll go ahead and unmute everybody, so if you have any questions, we can process those as they come. In this first slide here, you see a picture of our machine. It's the red machine on the left in this case, and the BMS system on the right-hand side. These work wirelessly together and both report to a computer system. So I'm sure the question you all are asking is, what can the Xtender do for you? So here's a few of the key points that the machine can be most beneficial to your company. The first point is it can increase revenue. You can capture an audience you're not capturing currently through offering a battery maintenance or regeneration service to your customers. For example, if you service a local course and they're currently shopping around for their batteries, you can offer them an additional savings. Instead of a full battery cost replacement, you can offer them a 50% or lower source, to prolong their battery life. Another key point here is battery regeneration provides better margin than full replacement. If you consider the lifespan of the machine to be over 10 years, you can greatly cover the cost of the machine and reduce the amount of labor you put into full battery replacement. You also have the ability here to capture lost sales by offering an alternative to customers price shopping. In the same example, if the golf cart company down the road has batteries special for $800, you can capture those customers that instead of walking next door and buying batteries, you can offer them a regeneration service to their fleet instead of price shopping and driving all your profits away. You also have the opportunity to set up a yearly maintenance program. This gives you the opportunity to sell other service at that point of sale. For best practice use, the cart can come in yearly. You can provide a short maintenance programming cycle on the cart to desulfate the batteries and prolong their life. And this also will give you the opportunity to sell other upgrades at that point. Cost savings, this is going to be a big one here for you. If you currently have a rental fleet, or if you purchase fleets and resell, rather than just putting new batteries and everything at the point of sale, you can certify the capacity of the batteries and offer them to your customers as practically new batteries at that point. This also will allow you to minimize the expense of keeping new batteries in stock. Most of you probably have tens of thousands of dollars in skids of new batteries sitting around ready for replacement. Rather than keeping that constant money outlay, you buy one machine and it allows you to service and fully satisfy your customers' needs. So what type of batteries does this work with? It is a universal restoration system. It works on all lead-based batteries, anything from flooded, DRLA, vented, AGM, gel, all the stuff that you see daily, and it will work for these types of batteries. So here's a real important slide, and I was hoping to cover this in a little bit of detail. Over 80% of battery failure as a whole is due to sulfation. These numbers come directly from battery manufacturers when they take a look at their warranty failure product as well as end-of-life product. Over 80% of those parts fail just due to sulfation. Previously, there's been a lot of things people tried, different solutions you put in the batteries and different methods to charge them to break up the sulfation. But until now, nothing has been this effective. So we wanted to identify a little bit what is battery sulfation. If you think of battery sulfation as rust forming on metal, it's kind of a hard particular matter that attaches itself to the battery plates. This matter can only be reversed through a combination of both cycling the battery and high-frequency pulse charging throughout a cycle of a battery. So this chart here gives you an indication of a typical battery lifespan. As you see, as the battery approaches years 3 and 4, it starts dropping off faster. So as the battery fails and it gets towards that end of life, it really starts going bad. And this is the point where the Xtender Battery Regenerator can come in and boost your capacity back up and prolong battery lifespan. So here we have causes of sulfation as well as some images. These are microscopic images of the lead plates in the batteries themselves. As you can see in figure A, this is what a battery looks like new. There isn't very many large crystals formation on the lead. And as the battery ages through B and C and D, this is what we end up with, the term sulfation. As you can see in picture D, it's almost like little stones that are attached to the battery plates. Each of these little crystals rob capacity from the batteries. Some of the causes of that is battery discharging too deeply. If you have a customer that's running the carts down until they won't run anymore every time, this is a great cause of this. Also, as a battery ages, more and more of these hard crystallized formations form on the lead plates. We're starting to see more and more opportunity in fast charging. While this does return the cart back to duty faster, it just breeds more and more sulfation internally on the plates. So how exactly does the extender work? It reverses the hard crystallization through use of a shark pulse technology. So what this means is not only are we cycling the battery through a discharge and recharge phase, throughout that whole process, there's a high frequency pulsation, and this alone, throughout the entire process, reverses that hard crystallized sulfation to active material. So you can think of it as it's turning that rust back into a usable metal. It doesn't fall off the plates and sit on the bottom of the batteries. It actually is returned to the active solution. So here's some unique features of our machine. It uses high-frequency pulse charge algorithm. A typical restoration of a full battery consists of 6 different modes. What we do is a discharge first that gives you the original battery capacity. From there, we move on to a bulk charge, then an equalization, and a second discharge. This allows you to directly compare the first discharge cycle with the second, and you can literally see a great increase in capacity. After the second discharge, we also go into a final restoration, which is a bulk charge equalization. This means that you start with a battery and end with a battery that's fully charged and ready to go. It is temperature controlled throughout, so you set a maximum temperature you want the batteries to hit. If it does hit that temperature or exceed it, it cuts the current to the batteries automatically. So it's pretty much a program in how you want it to operate and walk away from it. The output of the cycle is a graph that shows you detailed report of both the original capacity of the battery and the final capacity of the battery. It also shows you this level of report in the golf cart world per battery, so you can see if you have an issue with battery 1 versus battery 2, etc. So here's how it can be used. If we refer back to the previous chart, you see around year 5, the battery starts to really fail and it's down to near 50% capacity. If you do one restoration, a full restoration at that time, it'd be typical to get the battery up to 80, 90, or even 100% capacity. So you can see it's virtually a reset for the batteries at that point, and then they start with the normal capacity decrease as age goes on. The second way you can use the machine, if you capture this batteries at year 1 or 2, you can do a shorter maintenance cycle once a year. This allows the battery to remain at a high capacity level with up to 10 years of use. And here's a sample of how the machine is used. It's a fully touchscreen menu you can control with the unit itself or with a laptop. Some examples are if you go into do a charge, you set a charge voltage, you set a charge current, and the time you want it to do that. A typical restoration consists of 6 of these modes, whether the discharge or restoration, that you can fully control. And for instance, if you were going to discharge a battery to 12 volts using 10 amps in this case, as soon as the battery would hit that 12 volts, it goes on to the next program mode. Here's a little bit on hookup and usage of the machine. What you need to keep in mind is, in order to give you the original capacity of the batteries, the battery pack you would like to regenerate needs to be at 100% charge and return to ambient temperature. So we charge the batteries, allow them to cool down, and then we're ready to start a restoration. For this reason, you're allowed to say that the battery started at 60%, the battery started at 70% capacity, and you can really show your customers a capacity increase and lifespan extension of their batteries. The Golf size unit is connected to a single phase power supply, so it's 208, 220, single phase with a minimum current capacity of 35 amps. Another interesting thing here is every time the machine's doing a discharge from the batteries through the machine, it's returning the power generated back to your grid. So that's how the machine is extremely energy efficient. All the connections to the machine are hidden on the back panel of the machine. It needs to be hardwired to your facility. So we see here we have 3-wire AC input, a thermal sensor which is connected, it sits right on top of the batteries, a safety fuse, and then a DC output. The DC output does come with large jumper cable type connectors, so you simply pull the golf cart up to the machine, clamp on the main positive and negative cables, and walk away from it. This is a sample of the output of a cycle of restoration. If we follow along here and ignore everything else but look at the red line only, we see that this battery in this case started around 24 volts, and we did a constant current discharge until it hit 20.4 volts. The time it took to get to 20.4 volts with a constant current load was 4 hours and 48 minutes. So if we directly compare this discharge, we'll skip over here to where it says number 4 is the second discharge, and you can see it's the same constant current discharge load, but in this case it's 6 hours and 55 minutes discharge. So this battery pack, through one cycle of charge on our extender, went from being around 50% capacity to greater than 75% capacity. This is typical results of what you literally see and information you can supply your customers. So I wanted to cover each of these two. These are questions I frequently get asked regarding the machine. Can you do more than one battery at a time? The limitation on the machine itself is up to 72 volts nominally. So, for instance, if you run into a gem car that you want to do a restoration for, they commonly use 72-volt battery pack. In this case, the machine is able to do that full cart in one cycle. How long does the process take? A full restoration of your batteries takes 42 to 45 hours generally, depending on the condition of your batteries. A maintenance cycle, on the other hand, takes 13 to 15 hours, and that would just be used for yearly maintenance. What type of batteries does this work on? The full spectrum, everything you see, PG+, Trojan, US battery, etc. It'll cover everything you see in a golf cart currently. It also has use in NiCad and AGM batteries, which will be rare that you see those, but it is a potential opportunity. How many carts can you regenerate at one time? It's best to only do one cart at a time. This way you can supply your customers with accurate data. While it would essentially be possible to do 2 carts at once, you lose the data of the capacity of each cart. Because they're grouped together, you would just have the whole capacity, not the individual capacity. For this reason, I recommend just doing 1 cart at one time. Can it be used for manual discharge and charging? Certainly. There is manual modes. If you want to do a manual discharge with a 20 amp or 30 amp fixed load, it's just a simple program 2 touch screens away, and you can perform load testing on your batteries. I do get a lot of questions as well as what do people charge. I have a few customers currently across the U.S. that are kind of in remote areas, and they're getting a pretty good return on their investment on the machine. One customer charges up to $495 for a full restoration on a cart. Well, I don't expect everybody to make that kind of return. You know, the possibilities are out there that rather than, you know, making $140 on replacing a pack for your customers, there's the potential you can make $200, $250 quite easily, but still save your customers 75% of new battery cost. Do I need to take all the batteries out of the cart? It is not necessary to. You simply pull the cart up to the machine, clamp on the connectors, start the program, and come back when it finishes. How do you rule out a bad battery? It's easy to look at the detailed graph. You can see the discharge of every battery throughout the system, and it will identify graphically that battery A versus battery B. The warranty on the unit itself is 1 year. Flight Systems can also fully remanufacture the machine and supply discount parts to maintain its life. The life expectancy of the machine itself is 10 years, so I don't expect to have to replace too many parts, but we are here if needed. And then what is the expected life of batteries after they have been regenerated? That one does get a little bit foggy. However, what we're seeing so far is it's virtually a reset of the battery's life. This machine started in Europe, and they're just now getting on those years 4 and 5 of the batteries, where they were caught in year 4 and 5. They performed the full restoration, and they're getting 9, 10 years use out of the batteries. I expect that to hold true through the U.S. here, and you should be able to see if your customer currently has batteries that last 4 years, and you perform a full restoration, you should be able to get him another 3, 4 years out of the machine. It will not fix everything, but if the condition of failure is sulfation, the machine is very capable of addressing that issue. Here's a slide of the current customers out and about that have a machine and are using it to generate positive income. So I've been the whole way from Puerto Rico to British Columbia, and we're quite successful so far with the machine. Here's a sample of a battery restoration facility currently. As you can see, they have quite a few machines operating full-time around the clock, and they are also doing quite well and saving customers in the money in the end. At this time, I'm going to go ahead and unlock everybody's phones for comment. If you have any questions, concerns, or cares, you'll have the opportunity to address those here, and we can go from there. Okay, so now everybody should have a chance to speak. If you have any questions at all, please let me know. We can kind of address those as they come. Okay, nobody currently has any questions. What I'm going to do is I'm going to show you all one more thing here. Sample cost savings or profit per site. Here we're going to look at a case of the common 8-volt batteries for your golf carts. I've done a little bit of research as to what the current cost and retail pricing of the batteries themselves are, so you can kind of put your numbers in here and see where you end up. But what I have established so far is the cost per battery for an 8-volt battery is generally about $105. Now these generally retail for about $135. In this case, this was not going to be 4, it's going to be 6. So you would make a gross profit per cart of $180. Now, that's not counting labor, so I put in a generalized $30 for labor cost, giving you $150 net profit per cart when you sell new batteries to your customer. If we look at the same example using a regeneration analysis for your batteries, you see that a suggested service charge for a full restoration is around $202. There's really no labor accounted for this because it's simply plug it in as you would a standard charger, walk away from it. Your customers end up with a much cheaper option rather than paying around $800 for a full set replacement. In this case, only $202. But this is virtually all profit for you. This really puts money in your pocket and allows you to attract additional customers. The math works out the same if you consider 12-volt or 6-volt batteries. In the 12-volt battery case, a typical profit would be around $130, but you could charge up to and above $195 for a full restoration, which does make you significantly more money here. But also it is a cheaper and better option for your customers. That was all I wanted to cover today. If anybody has any further questions, I'll give you another few minutes in order to address them. And then we'll go ahead and wrap this up for today.